This is Morning Express. Today happens to be the 4th day of October 2015. Remember, later on we do have News Hour where we'll be bringing you information and news from within the country, around the region and all over the world. But for now, we'd like to look at the way it is. And well, joining me this morning as part of the panel, I'll start with introducing the ladies. Or let me start from my extreme left so that at least we have some form of order. And I'll start from my extreme left there with Hassan Omar, who is a senator for Mombasa County, also the WIPA Secretary General. Great to have you.
Great to have you.
I hope you had a good weekend.
As I said before we started, I discovered you were a good dancer. So my respect for you has multiplied.
Has multiplied, that's good. I also discovered you can shake a leg too. But it happened to be somewhere common that there was a lot of dancing.
It was Dennis and Betty getting married.
Wedding, yeah.
Dennis Okari and Betty Kialo, and we wish them well. And may the Lord grant them marriage of success and happiness.
Absolutely. Next, it's Alice Nganga, who is the MP for Thika. And how was your weekend, Alice?
My weekend was okay, but it was very busy. Yeah, I had
Did
so
you
many
go for the
functions.
prayers?
No, I never made it, but I wished I went, but I was busy in the constituency. I had 3 functions, so I never made it.
Okay, you didn't make it for the prayers?
Yes.
All right, next we have Ogla Karani, who is the ODM treasurer. I hope your weekend was good as well. Was it busy?
Yes, a little busy, but it was good.
Okay.
I thank God.
Fantastic.
Yes.
Last but not least, Ambrose Weda, who is a lawyer. Great to have you, sir. And your weekend?
Thank you. My weekend was
Were
very
you preaching?
good. No, I was listening. I was in church on Sunday. Then my team, Sony Sugar, also brought victory as we are becoming better and better.
As you, okay.
We are preparing.
Is this your
next
first
year,
win?
Sony Sugar will. It's not the first win.
Okay.
We are number 9, but I think next year, next season, we are taking the league. We are going to do everything. We are going to put every effort, all the prayers, including the money, to get the league into the team.
Okay.
From number 9 to number 1.
Oh yes, us we have possibilities.
Which team are you supporting in the EPL? Do you have a team?
Sony Sugar.
Sony Sugar.
EPL, English Premier League.
No. Forget about this one. Those are I don't even do. I hear people beating their wives and their cousins over which teams.
No, I think my team has now cracked the whip.
Which one is that?
Liverpool.
Now I now urge you from today onwards. Your team inside and out is Sony Sugar FC.
What happened?
That's all I'm asking from a friend. Nothing else.
I support Gor and Bandari.
Now you need to stop that.
Yeah. And go to Sony Sugar. Alice, do you have a team that you're supporting in the EPL?
Not quite.
Not quite.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm not a fan of football, but I watch once in a while.
Ogla Karani, any
Did you watch yesterday's game?
Yes, I did.
I have always said, I have never understood why real whole men, like my senator, he run around after small plastic and make a lot of money from it. I don't understand. I would rather spend that time praying, but they make money.
But at least yesterday I watched the match.
I don't understand.
Yeah.
The Arsenal versus
Manchester United.
And I was happy Arsenal won. Not that I support them.
Okay.
But
At least you know something called Arsenal and Manchester.
And what is interesting, these people, they don't even know who is the goalkeeper of God. They don't know, even him. Suppose God by that. But they know
international.
This Manchester, who was marrying who was what. That's the strange part. Now I'm urging all of you now, calm down here.
Yes. And look at home.
All right.
And start
As a challenge,
I think in principle we need to agree with him on the basis that we need to build local talent in our football. Yeah, that's true.
All right, so as a challenge, I think we should concentrate more on local football. And he has pleaded with you to support Sony Sugar. Whether you'll do that or not is another thing.
No, yes,
Thika United.
Bandari.
Oh, Thika United. All right, there you go.
Actually, we crashed Thika United yesterday.
Okay.
It was only
Crushed them.
I'll move away from football right now because I can see we can end up going with that. But come back to the country, and one of the things which I'd like to hear your comments, but before we hear your comments, is the teachers' strike. We do know that teachers are going back to school today as per the teachers' union saying that they will end the strike. However, is it really the end of the strike, or has it just been postponed to January? They've got 90 days to go onto the negotiating table with the Teachers Service Commission. And just to refresh our minds on some of the happenings and the statements that were made, we're going to have that play for you. Then we can discuss the wins and the gains, if there are any. And this is to do with the teachers' strike.
If you say you can't pay, won't pay, then teachers shall say, we can't teach, we won't teach.
Teachers are justified in demanding what the court awarded.
The National Governing Council sitting here today met and have resolved to comply with the attendant judgment of Justice Abweja, which was delivered on 25th of September 2015, and his ruling of 1st of October 2015 to suspend the strike and pursue the proceedings in the appeal court. This move to suspend the strike is not an act of cowardice. We have put a gallant fight in this regard, and therefore we ask for a lot of patience and understanding from our membership and the public in general.
So as we know it, today being the 4th of October, teachers are now to go back to class. And let me come to the panel now, and I'll start with you, Ogla. And 40 lessons lost, 158 hours lost in this teacher strike, 34 days of learning lost. Is there any progress that was made in this particular strike, or are the students the ones who are going to bear the brunt yet again? Because time has been lost and no gains really made, if one would argue from on that side of the view.
Time has been lost. The children of Kenya have been mistreated. They have suffered. They've lost their time of learning and even time of safer protection. We saw some of them, some parents on TV struggling to find their children, because teenagers left alone can really wonder, and we thank God that some of them are going to school today. I say some because I'm so sure some may not even be able to go to school. Teachers, on teacher strike, I want to congratulate the NAT. I want to congratulate teachers for putting up a very strong fight. They fought the war of David versus Goliath. It's not easy to fight with the system, but they tried. And I know that they said the strike has only been suspended for 90 days to obey the court orders. My conclusion about the teacher strike is this: they have just put a coal of fire on the head of Uhuru. They have just put a coal of fire on the head of this government.
Why do you say that?
Because the teachers, the government itself refused to obey the court order, even Supreme Court to pay the teachers. But the teachers have decided to obey a court order, which I'm sure the lawyers here can tell us could be challenged. What Justice, is it Abotha or Botha?
Nelson Abotha.
Yeah, made was, in my view, it didn't just come out, I'm not a lawyer, but it didn't just come out like it was a genuine ruling. They seem to have been a hand behind that ruling. But what I thank God is that they have obeyed a small court order. Behind? It was not, that's my feeling, I have just said that's my feeling, but the lawyers can explain, and progressively we'll get to know. You know, lies cannot be covered. They will always come to pass. So the government of Kenya refused to obey the court, the appeal court, the Supreme Court, but the teachers have obeyed one court ruling.
So in summary,
and I congratulate
are
them.
there any wins or gains in this particular strike?
There are wins. There are a lot of wins in the sense that the teachers have demonstrated that they have higher integrity and higher respect for the rule of law more than the government that is supposed to be ruling us.
All right.
And I know that the teachers of Kenya and the parents of Kenya and all of us have also known that we are actually being ruled by a disgraceful government, a government that does not care about its people.
All right. Alice Nganga, your take on the teacher strike and the fact that it's over. Is it just the students who've lost?
Not, first I would like to congratulate the teachers for saying they are going back to school. And also we tell our children we know they lost a lot of time at home. They try their level best to catch up so that they can sit for their exams. But I also want to say this, it is not about the government all the time. When a ruling is done and it is in the favor of the government, that one there's a hand in it. But when it is not in the favor of the government, then it is free and fair. We should come, I would say this, that teachers go back to school. And they went back to school, and I know they were demanding for a higher rise. But the government said at that particular moment they did not have money. And it is true, I sit in the budget committee. There was no enough money. And like I said when I was here the other day, it is about the Sarah Serem Commission. to look at the salary and remuneration. That is why they are there. That is their work. So to come and harmonize. And like I'm saying, it's not about teachers alone, because if we decided to pay the money that it does not exist even right now, then we are going to have other people on the street demanding for money. But if there is harmonization and everybody is put in where you belong, then it will mean that next time, even in January, nobody will go on the street demanding for money, because at least the commission that was put in the Constitution mandated to do that job are going to do that job in the right manner. So it was not that the government was refusing to children to go back to school, no. And I don't see what is wrong with the government saying, for now, we don't have money. If the government does not have money, even us, there's a time you wake up in the morning, you want to do something, but you don't have that money. That does not mean you be crucified that you don't have money. What the government was saying, and right now, the 30 days, it is about we sit down and we see what is there. And the commission of Sarah Serem to do what it's supposed to do, so that everybody feels harmonized. Or otherwise, if at all we say that we have money to pay teachers because they were at home, the next day it will be doctors. And we are going to have a spillover effect in this country where everybody go to the street to demand for money. And then I don't think that is, and then there's going to be inflation, and then our government is not going to run. So it's not about how much money or whether teachers should be paid. It is harmonization, and we give that institution the job it's supposed to be doing. And like I said earlier, we thank God that teachers are back to school.
Senator Hassan, teachers are back to school, students go back to learning, examinations continue. Wouldn't one argue and say that possibly that was the best thing to do now while we go back to the negotiating table?
I think I know quite a number of my colleagues have been critical of Justice Abuodo's ruling. For me, I think he did what was reasonable in the circumstances. There was a stalemate, and he needed to move it forward. So what he did is he provided time for dialogue and the possibility of having a mediator to start going through some of those issues. And I think even if that dialogue did not succeed in 90 days, the court can still pronounce itself on the matter, particularly when it comes to some of the contractual obligations. And you have to also appreciate that there's also another proceedings before the Court of Appeal. So the Court of Appeal then also has time now to make a determination, because there was a challenge to the legality or otherwise of the Court of the High Court's or Industrial Court's decision to compel government to honor its obligations under the agreement. So I think my own sense, there really is no win or no lose at this point in time. What I think we have is we have put our children back to school. They are the principal victors in this matter, and we insist that we need to honor the obligations we owe to our teachers. Mheshimiwa, I agree with you that there might be a burden on the wage bill, but also there's a challenge for us to continue to grow our economy. You know, we argue as if the economy is going to remain static. We need to grow our economy. The right to collective bargain is a right provided for in the Constitution. We should not fear it. That's the right to industrial action, and that's why courts protect unions when they go through the paces of issuing notice and going through the paces of industrial action. So I think we as a country also need to look for ways to remunerate our people better. Weda will tell you that he always criticizes us for being a superly paid, legislature, which I think he has reason in that, and there's truth in it. So therefore, we need to also see how we can improve the wages of our people across the board. But that means also there must be consumerate investment to the economy to grow it, so that then we are able to expand our tax revenue and make more people productive. We need to have direct investment into our economy, and I think we can pay people well eventually.
Okay, and amazing that Senator Hassan has actually agreed with Weda today.
But the truth that the political class is paid well is not in doubt.
Okay,
I mean it will be denying the obvious.
All right. Okay, has Ambrose Weda.
Yes.
Now here we have the strike called off for 90 days.
Yes.
Has it really been called off, or is it just moving the strike from now to January?
I think first of all,
between now and then, where is the money going to come from anyway?
No, the money is not going to come from anywhere. I've always said, I keep on repeating, the money is not there. I know President Uhuru would like to give 120%, double. But that money is not in our treasury because we have not collected it, we don't have it. If we were to proceed on that parameter, then we would be able to change the tact. I thank God that the teachers now have an opportunity to change the tact. First, I would urge government, especially the TSC. I know teachers are going to redouble their efforts to cover lost time. And for that reason, arrangements should be made very quickly to pay them their September salary. In a war, even when one team goes down, you don't keep on pressing, because I know they are going to recover time. But I would like to advise our teachers to change tact. I said at the beginning, I repeat, going on strike was a mistake. They had a court order in their favor. They needed just to tell government, tell us when you are paying. Then government would have come back to say, we don't have the 60%. Take 20% this year, take 20% next year, take 20%. I think because of the division in the teachers' representation, NAT and KUPPET, there is always a rivalry as to who calls the strike first, who is supreme. It is time for the teachers' union at these critical moments to reunite, so that when they talk more as part of government, such that they don't see government as an enemy. They see government as part of the Kenyan nation, and they have a court order and how it can be implemented. I see the pay dispute coming in the favor of teachers, if at all they change tact and they appreciate the money is not there, but it can be found as the economy
and negotiate
grows.
on how it's going to be paid
yes.
off.
In fact, if I was their lawyer, I would have told them, look, carry on with the work. Already we have a court order. Let them tell us when they want to pay. If they are not paying us today, let them tell us whether they'll pay us in arrears and with interest. However long they take, we have a court order. But they went ahead, went on strike, and even lost the people of Kenya along the way, with jostling and whatever. We thank God Justice Abodha came in with the Solomonic wisdom that has enabled teachers to take a retreat, also enabled government to take a retreat, and then we resolve this issue, appreciating economic dynamics, appreciating the people of Kenya, and understanding we have to move forward as a team, not as strike and threats. That I have refused all along. Strikes, threats. TSC, on the other hand, should avoid arrogance. Oh, we have our payroll, they are not in the payroll. Payroll are internal documents of TSC. Let them appreciate teachers went on strike. They are now going to work overnight to prepare students for exams. So whatever payroll they are looking at, let them look at quickly, pay these people so that the country moves forward. They are also giving the president a bad name by gerrymandering over small things.
All right, Ogla, let's flip the coin now and look at the teachers. As much as we say they deserve a pay rise and all that, do we have a way of monitoring that these teachers are actually giving us value for money? Is there an improvement in our education system based on how the teachers are teaching? And should something be done?
I think there has always been a problem in Kenya about the performance of public service. In fact, many times we have, even Sarah Sere herself has talked about the fact that there is the input versus the output in this nation is not, does not have equilibrium. Now, the way of monitoring the teachers' performance are always there. Teachers have actually tried in this country. In fact, when the free education was started by President Kibaki in 2002, the influx of children that went to classes was so overwhelming. One of the things everybody was afraid of was, how will these teachers manage 200, 300 children in class? But they did. They tried. And at the end of it, they were able. Teachers in Kenya have worked in very difficult circumstances. Some don't even have classrooms. So monitoring and evaluation is a work of the employer. The headmasters are there, the principals are there, and we cannot deny teachers their rights because we feel we want to create all those things of they need to be monitored and they need to be evaluated. They need to produce better results. We have been seeing people coming, children churning out of school. They have been passing. This country has been publicizing its results. Children have been doing very well. Some are not performing very well because of socio-political issues, socio-geographical issues, and we cannot blame teachers on that because it's a whole systemic problem. Now, talking about lack of money, it is true when you don't have money, you cannot buy it yourself. When there's no money, there's no money. But the question I've always asked is, where is this money in this country? Is it only because we are not collecting? No. The truth is this: much of the money is being used in corruption and wasted in corruption. Yes, one of it is in exaggerated salaries. In fact, these politicians are very good, or at least our members of parliament. When they needed to negotiate for their salaries, they did not need to go on strike because they had the authority. They tell us, they make the law, they were able to negotiate and get their salaries. Even when some of them have sat in parliament and have never done anything. Thank God for some that have at least done something. We even see them in their constituencies. There are some who have not done anything, but they were able to get their monies. Teachers, because they don't have that authority, they have been abandoned. Nurses have been abandoned. Doctors have been abandoned. Can we first, even before we talk about salary, because the cost of living in Kenya is very high. I actually believe that sometimes even these politicians, even though they pay themselves so much money, get broke like every other person because the cost of living in Kenya is very high. Can we start with a negative one, which is fighting corruption in Kenya? If we can seal the loopholes of corruption, which of course this government has proved unable. In fact, it is perpetuating it. Because when we tell them, some of your CSs are corrupt, let them step aside, the whole of them spend their energies covering them. Even when they come and tell us money was lost, surely 791 million would have given some relief to the teachers.
Okay. Alice, you're in the budget committee, you're also a member of parliament, and according to what Ogla is saying, it was very easy for you to get your pay rise, whereas teachers, of course, are suffering. Now, as part of the budget committee, we have 90 days to negotiate with the teachers. Is this money going to be found, or do we come back to the same place we have been for the last
Because negotiation has not started, I don't want to preempt what is going to happen, but I know it is going to be a process. We are going to sit down, but we did the budgeting process. By that time, when the budget passed 1st of June, we do not have money. That time, I want to tell you, the government did not have money that it could have shared. But we are going to sit down because, let's say this is a crisis, we need to sit down. But like I said earlier, and I want to say, let us give our best in our position where everyone represents. If it is teachers, their work is to teach our children. They also taught us. It is their responsibility to make sure that the best is found out of those children. The best is made out of those children. They give the best. And to monitor them, to evaluate them, there's nothing wrong with that. Because even us, at the end of the day, at the end of 5 years, I'm going also to be evaluated by my people. And if I will not have performed very well, they are going to send me packing. So to be evaluated is not a bad thing. It is good. So that every time you are doing your work, you need to benchmark yourself whether you are on the right track. So for teachers to be monitored is okay. For everybody who is working, for government, even for private sector, you need to know how you are faring on. And I want to say teachers, just like any other person, need to be appreciated. And we appreciate them for what they have done. We are seated here because our teachers taught us, and taught us very well. That's why we are seated here. So we need to appreciate them. And once in a while, even me, when I go to my constituency, I make sure the best performed teachers, the ones who have given us best students, at least we look forward and we appreciate them in one way or the other. And we have that gathering with the teachers, and we say so-and-so has performed very well. And even when I'm going there, I tell them, give me this and I'll give you that. Why? Because I'm also motivating them. Just like any other person, teachers need to be motivated by us. But what we'd like to say is, right now teachers are there. Yes, we had our budget. Let me not preempt and say that we are not going to sit down and negotiate. No, we are going to sit down with teachers and tell them as it is. If at all we are going to find money, we'll tell them we'll find this amount of money, like in phases. If we don't have that money like that, we just tell them we don't have money. But we can have a way to go about it. How many years, how many days, that one is something we need to agree upon. But we want to tell them they continue teaching, and the children, because they are in school right now, they have few days, especially those ones preparing for their exams. They do their best. You know, in management, there's crisis. When crisis comes up, you have to change the tax and make sure that you achieve what you're supposed to achieve in this longest time, in that shortest time. All right. So I would say, but as for budget right now, I want to tell you, as it was that time, we did not have money. All right.
Michael, allow me to answer one of your questions, just to add to it. You asked whether teachers, there's value for money with respect to teachers. I think that would be a bit of an analysis that only targets the teachers. We need to look at the investment in the entire education sector so that we can be able to appreciate. Because I would say, that we are doing poorly across the board on the basis that if I was to benchmark against private schools are making the real investment in terms of infrastructure for education, facilities, more incentives to the teachers. I think how they hack it, is it because of money, value for money? So I think what happens if we undertake ourselves to provide free education, let that free be preceded with the word quality free education, so that if we make an investment, we must make a full investment into it, so that one is not disenfranchised for being in a public schooling system. I keep reiterating this. I went through a public schooling system: Mombasa Primary School, public school; Lenana School, public school; Moi University, public university. And therefore, there was a point at which public schools were. Mombasa Primary used to lead Mombasa when I was a primary school student. Lenana, I think by the time I was exiting, we were number 4. We had the highest number of students who sat for KCSE in any given national school, maybe over 200 plus, and we will still be number 13, number 12, number 11 in the country. That is not reality for Lenana anymore. And Moi University, the faculty which I went, I'm told is being faced with closure. So there's been a decline in the public sector across the board, and we need to make a very genuine investment in the field of education. I think, Alice, from my point of view, if there will be a court order saying that obligation must be honored, which exists, and it's now being contested in the Court of Appeal. If the Court of Appeal affirms it, and the 90-day period lapses in terms of the period provided for negotiation, it is incumbent that that order must be honored. The question is honoring. I mean, yes, you will talk about the economic realities, but there are a lot of other realities that we see happening. And I was reading an article by one of the economists that it's very difficult to convince a Kenyan teacher when he or she sees the wastage, sees the corruption, sees the affluence, sees the almost myopic kind of excesses of those in the highest level, caliber of leadership, including the political class, to convince them that there's no money. They see the kinds of investment in infrastructure that is blitz. So I think we need to also
be checked right across the board.
We need to have a sincerity with how we deal with our teachers. We can't send them perpetually into strikes, because we can avert it by January if we're able to focus on it.
All right, we'll be watching and seeing how that goes, but let's move on to something else. And of course, like I mentioned earlier, teachers are back in classes from today, which is something that we all agree that it is a good thing. However, those 90 days are going to be critical to ensure that they do not go back on strike again. This needs to be resolved once and for all. But this is the way it is, and let us look at something else. And this is the prayer rallies that have been taking place, and some of the revelations, as it were, or allegations that have been coming out of some of these rallies. And of course, Moses Kuria is not one who is a stranger to controversy, and he still had more revelations to give as the prayer rallies were going on. And just to refresh our minds, let us just have a look at some of the statements were made before we get into that discussion.
We formed 2 commissions, one for Krikra, another for Waki. That in those 2 commissions, everybody, PNU was looking for evidence to say that they won. ODM was looking for evidence to say that we stole the election as PNU. And in so doing, ODM looked for witnesses and PNU looked for witnesses. That's an unknown fact.
There you have it. He says, according to Moses Kuria, that ODM looked for witnesses, TNA looked for witnesses. Ogla, what's your take on some of the statements that are being made out there?
You know, this ICC case, seated here, I said it, and I think nearly everybody here was mad with me, that the post-election violence witnesses were coached and they were procured by PNU. I was told it was not true.
So when you say they were coached by PNU, are you saying that those in ODM were not involved at all?
Involved in which way?
In the coaching.
First of all, they were ODM could not have been involved at all in the coaching because they were the offended side. ODM was struggling to, first of all, fight for their stolen election. They were still trying to come in terms. They were actually traumatized a lot. How would they even have spent time to coach? And to coach witness against who? When at that time, they were struggling, the elections had been stolen. The post-election violence erupted in this country. We all know that nobody planned election violence in Kenya. Kenyans know that. And so ODM could not have coached anybody. And there's no one that ODM coached. Again, as I say, everybody wants to drag the name of ODM in everything in this country, which is good, because when you are doing very well, everyone will talk about you. But Moses Kuria, people say that Moses Kuria is mad. I personally believe he's not mad. He is actually saying the truth. The only thing is, his intention, as far as I am concerned, is not right.
So are
for
you
him
saying,
to even come out now.
From what you're mentioning, then are you saying that his truth comes as far as PNU, but because he has mentioned and said that ODM was also involved, and he has mentioned even names. So are you saying that his truth is only as far as those in government are involved?
Moses Kuria even mentioned Senator Hassania. He's mentioned everybody. But the truth is this. He said he coached witnesses. And he said at least he has confessed himself. Can we therefore give time to all the others to come and say their part? But the way I know it, it is actually them PNU who coached all the witnesses. All the witnesses that are in here, guys, is it today, accusing William Ruto and Joshua Sang. They are all from PNU side. They are all their people. They coached them, they paid them, and they did everything. So unfortunately, it's just coming too late. The intention is not to rescue. I feel very bad that my people, the Kalenjin people, have actually been cheated to believe that this is a confession that has even come as a result of prayer, so that is a confession from with good intentions. There is no good intention in this convention. This convention has a serious concealed political strategy. And Kenyans will come to know that they were just taken for a ride.
Okay, maybe you'll tell us about the strategy in just a short while. You seem to know maybe more than we do. Ambrose Weda.
Yeah, I think I always remember my deputy president in prayers, genuine prayers, not political prayers where you see people kneeling in the forest. Too. I said, if you are really praying for the deputy president and Sang, not in some shrine in the forest. That is one. Two.
Where would they pray?
They're supposed to pray to Almighty God. Actually, you're supposed to pray in spirit, so that our Lord listens to you. But when you are opening your mouth in the forest so that people see you in the glare of TV, that's something else. And I think they're worsening for the deputy president on a serious matter. A serious matter in the sense that part of the engagement, I said, and I repeat, should be at the ICC. And then into the international fora, the African Union, the UN, if we are going to save this. Otherwise, they keep on annoying the judges here. They are annoying the judges because these judges are human beings. On what Kuria is saying, it is too late in the day to come around naming people, naming their. Although I remember even my friend Matsanga said that their witnesses were procured. But Ocampo himself also came and took 3-3, which just showed that something was amiss. But it is too late for the day. What our focus should be today is to produce the correct evidence before the judges at the ICC, so that Brother Sang, my deputy president, is acquitted. Then you can come and do the drama they are doing. Otherwise, if it was my power, I would have gone to those places where they are posturing with the Nyaunyo and actually scattered all of them in the mighty name of Jesus Christ, because they are spoiling for the deputy president. It is now question of legal strategy, presenting the evidence, if producing these witnesses and showing the judges that the election was, the violence was spontaneous. Some of your people did not do correct investigations, and therefore we did not get some of these things right. And therefore, we ask you to release these people. The way it happened to Mulaura, the way it happened to Kosgei. But these are the gangsters who think we want to cry louder so that one day if deputy president becomes president, we'll go and say, you know, I cried for you. Give me something. That is wrong and selfish.
All right, Senator Hassan Omar.
You know, there was an article I wrote many years, about almost 3 years back. What do Kibaki men know? What are they planning? And it brought some furor. I used to be a columnist to the Standard Sunday Standard. And there's a part where everybody, they appeared not to have missed out, because we dealt more on the intrigues of the ethnic configuration that I was talking about at that time. And I had almost alluded to the fact that this whole coalition, which was then forming itself, was going to melt once people discovered that quite a number of those witnesses were former PNU activists across the region of the Rift Valley. And I think that came to bear. That is what is coming to bear at this point in time. But I want to agree to that extent where you now need a legal strategy. If Moses Kuria genuinely has that evidence, it doesn't need to go to a political platform per se, because it's not serving Ruto. As I personally am one of those also who believes it's escalating the matter farther and farther and farther. Because now the ICC will be on him. They're going to go for him in terms even of perjury, if necessary. I think the jurisdiction, he should have gone to the real jurisdiction where this matter can be arbitrated to the very end. So if I was him, Karim Khan, I believe it's called Karim Khan, KK, well, I've called him up and documented his evidence and provided it in his defense. And therefore, Moses Kuria will have been a star witness for William Ruto. And therefore, what will then have happened, he will now give the occasion and circumstances upon which Martha Karua, Raila Odinga, Professor Nyong'o, Hassan Omar, and anybody else conspired to fix witnesses. That then will have necessitated the court, to summon us, or to summon anybody else who's adversely mentioned, to now go and either rebut or give further evidence. So I think, so therefore we'll have provided a very judicious kind of framework to do all this. But as long as it's in the political court, I take it with that contempt that it does. They have mentioned many of these names for the last 3 years. When excellent Deputy President William Ruto was providing his evidence, I saw an entire litany of other people that came in, who Karim Khan alleged were conspirators in terms of fixing of William Ruto and coaching of witnesses. So I think this whole circus must be ended in a legal and judicious manner. But ultimately, there's need for the political discipline in this country. We've been talking about it most of last week. I used to be told Lucy Kibaki, the former First Lady, used to slap politicians who showed some kind of indiscipline. Maybe Alice Nganga needs to take that role now, because there's a lot of, whenever you see some of these politicians, you work them so hard because they're just committing this country to theatrics and hatred. These things spur hatred, whether we like it or not. They evoke such negative sentiments. That's why some of us are a bit, a bit dampened with this, because we know how we've been dragged through this and created an avenue of hatred for people. So, and it's going to escalate it now, headed to the elections in 2017.
All right. Honorable Alice Nganga, your take on Moses Kuria's statements, do they have any credence? Should they be followed up, or should even be silenced and maybe taken to a corner for him to speak and say what he knows?
First, I'll start by saying, thanks God that God is not a man. Because if you see, when you go for prayers and people say that is not the right way to pray because they have an opinion on how you should go to God, before God. But I would want to say that one day, as Jesus Christ was preaching, some people came and told him that, did you know what? There are people preaching in your name and they are hiding. And they are saying in the name of Jesus. And he told them, let them preach. So long as they are preaching, we are on the same side. Let them preach. So to them, every person has a way of going before God. Maybe to them, they want to go alone. Us, we want to go collectively. Why are we hurting you? If at all we have gone to Mount Elgon or we have gone to Baringo, how is it interfering with you? Why do you want us to pray the prayers that you are very comfortable with? If the Jubilee government have felt this is the way to talk to God, who are you to judge? Stay aside. You are not being called to join them for prayers. It is them who are praying. And I'm telling you, they are being answered. The prayers are being answered. Where are people saying now the results are there, we can see the results. Moses Kuria, in the, I don't know what prayer, 4th or 5th, Moses Kuria is up there. He's touched by the Holy Spirit. And now he's saying, now I want to confess. No. Don't. That's what I'm saying. They are not God. They should not judge us. So Kuria comes on the TV and says, now I will confess. There are people, they have stayed with people who have something inside their heart for many days, and they have not spoken. After Moses Kuria went the first rally, he never spoke. He never spoke. But
so you feel Moses Kuria's speech is out of the prayers?
Out of the prayers. Yes, the prayers have been answered.
I think Moses needs prayers.
No. Don't worry. Even when somebody hurts you, you say the truth will come out at the right time, and you go back home, and you don't expect maybe to be answered. You know God has his own way of doing things. See, Moses Kuria now is telling us exactly what happened in 2008. And why are we now again coming to tell Kuria, stop talking? Let Kuria tell us exactly what happened. And believe you me, like I've said here, that time William Ruto was in ODM. The people who should be coming out to tell us exactly what happened from ODM side, it is Akina Raila Odinga Anyang' Nyong'o, because William Ruto was not on the side of the Jubilee we have right now. He was not in PNU. So let Moses Kuria tell us exactly what happened. And people should not start to feel the heat and get worked up. Let us be told exactly. And don't tell it is time bad. Time bad for who? There's no time bad in life when you confess. You can confess at the last minute, you can confess in the middle, you can confess like where Kuria is saying. And we give Kuria an opportunity, let me tell you. And let nobody say, oh, whatever. Kuria is coming forth and saying, where is ICC? Call me to come and tell you even more. Even the other day, Kuria said the ICC called him. So we should not stop Kuria from talking the truth. Okay. Because if people fix each other, it is time.
One thing.
Confession time has come.
Let me hear from
one of the letters.
Let's give her a chance to speak, especially now that she's the one who said, you know, these prayers should be done in a certain way. There is the rebuttal.
Yes, my servant word, I believe. You know, in the Bible, there are a lot of scriptures. Some were said by prophets, others by apostles, others by Jesus Christ. This particular one is very powerful because it was said by Jesus. He said, when you pray, don't go to the streets like Pharisees. He says, close the door behind you and call upon my name. More than that, the ICC, you know, why I know that this case was procured by these people. The lawyers in Kenya, the PNU, and Moses Kuria and his group. Moses Kuria has confessed for himself. Don't even bring the other names of other people. He has confessed for himself what he did. So let everybody carry their cross. The ICC, one of the accusations against William Ruto and Joshua Sang and that was with the former Henry Kosgei, was that they gathered people and took them to the bush and gave them, of course, the Kalenjin community don't take oaths. The people who take oaths in Kenya are known from before independence. We don't take oaths. But they lied because they could only use their cultural locus of evaluation. And they said they took people to the bush and took oaths. Then now, we cheat them and tell them, let's go to Kiptoro bush to go and pray. What are they telling the ICC? Those judges are actually human beings. They are telling them, this is the only way we know how to plan. They are just confirming those cases. Now, they have said, another case is that William Ruto has a solid, absolute control over the Kalenjin people. They are in their rallies. They transport people from far and wide.
Do you have evidence of that?
Yeah. Of course. I have a lot of evidence. I'm from Rift Valley. They send people money in SMSs to go. They send buses.
That's information we cannot verify.
But I'm telling you, I have evidence myself. Everything I've said here, you've always told me, Mike, do you have evidence? I told you PNU procured witnesses. You told me, don't speak. Now, Moses himself came to say. So what are you telling me now? So I'm telling you, they gather people and they transport them to confirm to ICC that we actually have absolute control of multitudes of people. And then they go there and abuse the judges. They abuse the judges. They abuse Bensouda. The thing I have always wondered is Bensouda made of stone? Or are the judges there made of stone that they are going to be seeing these abuses? Let me tell you, and let me be very genuine in this thing. There are people in this country, even the whole matter of partnering, like he says, this case of ICC is going to raise political tension. It is very sad that it is being carried from 2007 until 2017. And we only escaped narrowly in 2013 because these people came together and said, and cheated the nation and their supporters, that if we partner together, we are going to finish ICC. Then they went to ICC, and one saved himself, and then two were left to suffer. The issue is this. The truth in Kenya must come out. I pray that we manage this truth so that when it is coming out, we do not expose the country to another tension.
Create more hatred.
This ICC matter, there are people who are determined to do things behind the scenes to make sure that they sacrifice these young men, this William Ruto and Joshua Sang. We know that they did not do anything. God will save them. But the strategy they are using, and I'm wondering, why are they not kneeling down, and they are Christians, and talking to God privately? Because God speaks and hear the instructions of God. I say, dear, one time, I say, dear, that the scripture says, stand still and see the salvation of the Lord. How I wish my brothers could just wait on God.
All right, Alice, we need to wind up very briefly.
I just want to say very briefly, I have said William Ruto was in ODM 2007. What I usually ask myself, where were the colleagues who were with William Ruto to come and say, this brother of mine, this one I know for the longest. This one cannot say those things you people are saying. I was with this man almost 24/7 during that time because we were on the same side. What I'm asking, the people who are in ODM that time, where are they? Where are they to come out? Where are they to come out one day and stand in front of people and say, sincerely speaking, ICC, Bensouda, this man called William Ruto, this man does not know whatever he's been accused of. Where are they today? Are you sure William Ruto was not crucified? People keep on saying PNU because of the opposition. When William Ruto left ODM, you know exactly what happened. Who really crucified Ruto?
Let me tell you.
Ruto was crucified by one of that time, one of their own, ODM.
Very briefly, Hassan Omar, we need to wind it up right here.
Ruto has spent half of his time, more than even half of his time, making allegation against his former colleagues as his tormentors.
And he left them.
So to that effect,
he was cheated,
you disarm them.
Yeah.
You know, you so suddenly say it is Raila Odinga, it is this and this. And some of these letters Mukuria presented in his what we call evidence are letters that are in public domain. At that time when the violence was going on, Anyang wrote as Secretary General of his party, ODM, to ask for the intervention of either the United Nations High Commission for Human Rights or for the ICC intervention. And when Martha saw this letter, she was the Minister for Justice at that time. So she wrote a rebuttal to ensure that, you know...
All right, we'll follow up on those. Please. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll have to wind it up right there. No, time is really up. It'll have to be like 2 seconds.
Yes, just one thing. The only thing I want to clarify, and I want the MP for Theka to understand, the only sin that the Bible says will not be forgiven is the blasphemy of the Holy Spirit.
Amen.
Do not say that Kuria is inspired by the Holy Spirit. The way he's talking is inciting the country.
Yes.
And I ask God to tell him to stop.
Point noted. Thank you very much. That's the way it is. Thank you very much. We have Hassan Omar, who is Senator for Mombasa County and also Secretary General for Wiper Party. Alice Nganga, MP for Thika. Ogla Karani, ODM Treasurer, and last but not least, Ambrose Sweda, who is a lawyer. That's where we're going to wind up the way it is. Do stand by. We've got News Hour coming up very shortly, where we'll give you stories from local to regional to international. That's all coming up right here on KTN News. Stand by.